Alright, it is an issue of New Thunderbolts, number 8, and God, this is good. This is Fabian Nicieza writing, with art by Grummett. You're probably sick of hearing me say this by now, but this was the first ongoing series that I ever bought every month with me own money. I obviously got comics before it, but I consider New Thunderbolts to be the first one I got properly. I started with issue 1 and so on. This one is a Speed McGee-centric issue. We also get plenty of Captain Cold, and as the cover shows, Shockster, a character who eventually joins the team about 8 years after this one. There was a fan vote, if I remember. There was a fan vote for you to pick who you wanted to join the team, and Shockster won it. I voted for Madam Masks. With New Thunderbolts, we got a new team with the first issue, and it is almost a dream team. We had 3 mainstay characters, with Song Girl, Mark, whose real name is Abe, and Atlas Man. Then we had a bunch of new inductees like Speed McGee, Captain Cold, Joss Sticks, Radiation Dude, and Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell. Very handy that Wallace Grummett did pin-ups of them for easy cutaway use. With this team, there was also Swordman, a new Swordman, and he didn't get one of those pin-ups, but he had a secret mystery identity, which, when revealed, totally worked. And he was one of my favourites in the series, but he isn't in this issue, so I will not talk about I have done videos about Swordman and 2 of the issues about already. What I need to explain, I feel, is what exactly the Thunderbolts are, because a few viewers I've had chats with have some misunderstanding or misconception about what this team is. A lot of my viewers also stopped reading comics at different points, but many of them before Thunderbolts ever became a thing. The Thunderbolts were sadly created by Kurt Busiek. He is not very good. He got bored of his own idea 12 issues in, so made it into a Hawkeye book instead. When Kurt Busiek kicked off the series in 1997, it had the famous twist and the famous setup where this new team of superheroes were actually supervillains in disguise. They were pretending to be heroes as part of a master plan to take over the world. Eventually, the team moved beyond that. Some of them sought to redeem themselves and be superheroes instead of just pretending to be them. They became Hawkeye's glorified sidekicks under Kurt Busiek. But then Fabian Nicieza took over the title and it became much better. Its theme became about redemption and exploring bad guys and their ability or desire to reform. Some were accepted and became heroes. Others flirted with the idea or attempted it but came up lacking. Songirl and Mark, real name Abe, they were the backbone in a way. They were the two who truly did transition from former villains into legitimate heroes. Fabian Nicieza brought a lot of characters onto the team, and he had a few different rosters. And after 50 issues by him, the series was rebooted as New Thunderbolts, which was a jumping on point for many, and was where I began my readership of the series. Like any Thunderbolts fan, I do not talk about fight balls. Later runs I've had stuff like Luke Cage's leading the team, and then there is stuff like this, where the Thunderbolts name is effectively being used for completely irrelevant, unrelated characters with no connection to what came before at all. None of that matters to this though. This is New Thunderbolts, and the story begins with the new team fighting Batroc and Batroc's brigade. Good double splash page here. Mark, whose real name is Abe, he is the leader of the New Thunderbolts, and he is currently back in his beetle armour, which he should have stayed in if you ask me, because it looks the best. With this opening scene, you might get into this thinking Batroc and company, they are being used as standard disposable villains for the beginning. Ones who are beat really easily by the heroes. But this is great. The Thunderbolts, they got in really cocky, thinking it's just Batroc and his cronies, and that this will be a total cakewalk. And then they get creamed. This is brilliant writing. Batroc, people always fucking joke about Batroc being a lame, underpowered goofball with a silly French accent. That is the thought patterns of a terrifically uninspired and boring brain. Batroc is great. He has a good character too. And him and his brigade take out almost all this team here. The Thunderbolts' loss is also somewhat understandable. They are still a new team, and they have their individual problems. Speed McGee doesn't think much before acting. Captain Cold is so indecisive, he is at times useless. Joss Sticks, she is only fighting for thrills. Even Mark, real name Abe, he is in an odd armour here. I could speak for a whole video about how much I like that they got their butts handed to them by Batroc. But the one that they didn't manage to beat was Captain Marbles. The real one, Genis-Vell. The Genis-Vell character didn't get his best shown in this series. He got buried underneath editorial demands to vacate the Captain Marvel's name and identity, and he had about 3 redesigns, and his powers were constantly changing, and then he got dead forever to make way for another new Captain Marvel's, the real one. This is one of his best scenes in this series. I love the character, and this makes a case that maybe he could be leading the team. With the help of Speed McGee, who removes the hostages from any threat, Genis-Vell takes out the baddies with one blast. Then we have this bit, which I showed in another video as a cutaway. Speed McGee's only moment that seems to personally validate his decision to be among heroes. A woman that he saved, rewarding him with a kiss on the cheek. The other character that we see a lot of this issue is Captain Cold. And there are a lot of pages and panels I have shown as cutaways from this one. Captain Cold, he does want to be better. He does want to be a hero. He wants to prove to everyone that he has what it takes to turn his life around. But he is very, very weak-willed. I did 2 videos on his first appearances where I cover a lot of the same ground about his confidence and his doubts. Him and Speed McGee have a toxic dynamic where Speed McGee is cynical. He's always putting Captain Cold down with snide comments and constantly chipping away at his already low confidence. Speed McGee makes him doubt himself or his decision to try and be a goody bird. In this bit here, Captain Cold, he is really eager for the team to work out and practice after their defeat. But Speed McGee and everyone else brushes him off, and Captain Cold just cannot find any reassurance around the base. Since I have already done videos explaining a lot of this, I will mainly be looking at the actual beats happening in this issue, rather than the backstory or the character histories. Like Speed McGee, as I also discussed in my video on his first appearance, he has a side thing going on. Here, Shockster has brought him in to help with a robbery, and Speed McGee is trying to have his cake and eat it too. He thinks he can be accepted and seen publicly as a hero, despite little motivation or drive on his part. And then in his spare time, still be a total crook. Some subplot here with Song Girl. I tend to overlook getting into the details of subplots when they didn't matter much to the issue's main story, and that is what we will do here. Although, we have another little subplot up here with Captain Marbles, the real one, Monica Rambeau. She hears on the radio about Captain Marbles, the real one, Genis-Vell, being back on Earth again. Then we have this bit that I have talked about a few times. To help with his con, Speed McGee has decided to start conducting his crimes in his art costume that he wore when he was the Flash. He hopes that it will help him maintain the rules of also being a supposed hero. I do really love this idea, and I have remarked plenty that by this point, Fabian Nicieza, he had been writing Thunderbolts for years, and he was still coming up with fresh ideas and new perspectives to explore characters. Speed McGee's necessity in this robbery is to deactivate a bunch of relay alarms before they trigger a lockdown. But that is when he is confronted by Captain Cold. Captain Cold knew about this because Speed McGee originally offered him a part of the action, but now Captain Cold has shown up to stop it, and this is the most confident that Captain Cold has been. He wants to stop Speed McGee from making a big mistake. He wants Speed McGee to turn over a new leaf alongside him. He doesn't want Speed McGee's actions to jeopardise the team. And Captain Cold thinks there is a friendship there, but there isn't really. And not helping validate Captain Cold or any of his compulsion to be a hero is that he is taken down quite easily by Speed McGee. So the robbery is a success. And Speed McGee, he deals with Captain Cold by stripping him down to his boxers and tying him upside down to a bridge. But there is a post-it note on his forehead from Speed McGee saying, "Thanks for trying." Shockster gets cornered by the cops back at his hideout. We didn't learn who reported him to the police. Possibly Speed McGee, because Speed McGee also steals the money from Shockster, which handily means that Shockster doesn't appear to have committed any crime. And then Speed McGee gives it all to Mark, real name Abe, to help fund the team. There is so much depth to these characters, it's amazing. And it really fucking bothers me that Fabian Nicieza and everything he did with Thunderbolts is attributed to Kurt Busey. There was nothing like this in Kurt Busey's run. Characters were either good or bad, or they alternated between those two to create an illusion of there being a middle. This is actually characters with nuance, and it is honestly brilliant. We have our lead in to the next issue, which is the team, or rather Radiation Dudes. They are attacked by Seaman, who the inker gives the face of a decrepit hard man. Let's conclude this review with a simple and very obvious 7 thumbs up.